I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Wow! I feel good.
Begin.
Hey guys, what's up? Matt here. Welcome to the episode of Coffee is for Closers. Today, here with Pat once again.
Hello.
And what are we going to be going over today, Pat?
We're talking about team building and maintenance.
Okay. If you like that kind of stuff, stick around.
If you listen to this podcast, you will make your first million within 3 years. We're here to make podcasts. You really want this. You listen and review.
Building a team.
So you just got back. So observably to the audience, nothing's happened because we batch recorded a bunch of podcasts. But
idiots.
You were gone for a little while. You just got back from the States. You went over there to do a retreat. And I wanted to discuss with you, not too long ago, I remember when Sales Sniper was Fitness Sales Sniper and it was just you. And now there's...
Those are the good old days.
Tell me about it.
Less money, more work. It's a dream.
But now there's like 150 odd people. And I want to talk about a little bit about the journey from start to finish on that, right? And then not just the building of a team and its necessity, but the maintenance and the ongoing training of a team.
Yep.
When did you decide to like, okay, this is bigger than me, I need to bring in more people? Like
significantly more people or like a couple people?
Anyone, like even one person.
So I brought in James relatively early. Mm-hmm. So I was sort of doing the thing and cold calling people, and I was selling like, I probably had like 4 or 5 gyms that I was doing the sales for. Yep. And then I just realized like, all right, it's like there was so much demand for the service because, and I can see now why, because like nobody in their right mind would do it. It's a really difficult thing to do. Mm-hmm. And like I'd been working with James in the gym. We had a good working relationship. So I was like, James is good at fitness sales. I was like, I get him on the phone. I can double the amount of output, double the amount of money. Should be pretty good. Yep. But like when I went to him, he was like, I'm not like working for you. I'll work with you. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Mm-hmm. So I brought him in. We quickly realized it was kind of a better relationship if I was on the phone and then he would do all the kind of like background stuff to make sure that like I was able to just be on the phone. Mm-hmm. You know, help with the invoicing and the administrative requirements around all the sales and, you know, just like kind of look for stuff, client facing, all that kind of good stuff. Mm-hmm. And so from then, like we were kind of a team, we were doing stuff. And again, like the demand was just massive. And so we were like, well, like, what do we do now? So I guess we're like, we'll bring on a sales guy. And Marco was that sales guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how the team went. It was you, then James, then Marco.
Yeah.
And then just started filling out after that.
Yeah, and then we got a guy, like I put up one ad, it's the only ad I've ever done for like a salesperson, and it was like I got one answer, and it was Jimmy Reese Hopkins, who's in the UK, who's like our head of training, and he was a sales guy, so like then I had a UK sales guy, and I was like, sweet, because a bunch of the inquiries I was getting from the UK, it was really odd. I don't even know where they came from. I don't know how they found me. I don't really know how that all happened. Like I was posting stuff on Facebook, but like just personal Facebook. Mm-hmm. And I think it was just referrals. Yeah. People were just talking about it because like no one had done the service before, or maybe not to any sort of degree of efficacy. So yeah, I was just kind of like, you go here. And then all of a sudden, like I was like, we had more inquiries. So like I reached out to a few guys I knew who had done fitness sales before, got them on board, and just kind of started to grow. So we weren't really a team. We were just kind of, like me, James, and Marco were kind of a team. Mm-hmm. And then like Jimmy as well. But like the other guys that we had, it was just kind of like coming and going.
Yeah, okay. So what was it like for you then, that sort of initial handover of control? Because one thing I've noticed is like what you're very good at now is just like, that's your job, you do it. But a lot of it is your reputation on the line. You're the outward face of the company. But there's a lot of people, like just say in my department, for example, there's probably 4 or 5 people that have like, that we post on your behalf, and therefore we have the logins to your, I'm logged into your Instagram. And what was that like? Now you're very comfortable with it. You do it all the time. It's no big deal. But that initial handover and loss of control, I imagine that's what inhibits a lot of business growth from people.
Yeah.
Is that like no one can do it as good as me, which is probably true.
Oh, it's definitely not though. Like, I mean, I was talking to Will Hinkson, and I was, like there are like Anthony, for example, like is just vastly superior to me in like a few really key ways.
Okay.
Like he's so much more detail oriented. His ability to like dissect an account and then like implement the changes that need to be made is vastly superior to mine. Mm-hmm. My main thing, which I do better than most people, is abstract problem solving. Okay. That's really it. Yeah. Like I'm good at seeing very difficult problems and going like, it seems like a good idea. Let's try this. Mm-hmm. And it works out most of the time. So like, but like, that the implementation of that solution, I kind of suck at. Okay. Right. But I know that. So you hire people who are much better at that, which seems to kind of make sense. Like, James, the reason why I got him is because like he is a detail oriented, like sort of more fastidious person than what I am. Whereas I'm just more like big picture, yay, let's kind of do the thing.
But did you hit any resistance with the first time that you were like, hey, you do this because I'm going to do this? Having been doing everything yourself for, a pretty long period of time.
I don't know, man. Like not
you didn't
really.
Hit it?
No, I just
okay. That eliminates advice on how to overcome that. You just never encountered it.
Well, I think like I didn't encounter it because like why hire people that you don't trust?
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So like I'm lucky enough. Like I've known you for 15 years,
something like that. Yeah.
Something like almost 20 years. Like fuck, man. Like if you can't replicate my voice as well or pretty close to as well as me, like then who can?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So like what's the point?
Yeah.
And then I think like people are gonna fuck up, and I think one of the problems is people just think fuck ups are way bigger than what they are.
Yeah.
Like when that setter a little while ago fucked up and started trying to pinch people from other things, I was like, who cares? Like everyone's forgotten about it already. Like what's the point? Everyone's memories are so short. And so like the fuck ups, especially if people are somewhat compartmentalized, it's difficult to do a catastrophic fuck up. Mm-hmm. I can catastrophically fuck up. Mm-hmm. Like if I do something or say something or, like I'm the one who can make the largest mistake. Mm-hmm. So like everybody else is somewhat compartmentalized in a way where it's like there's a mitigation of any risk of them doing anything too badly, which is what bureaucracy is. Yeah. It's one of the reasons why like the U.S. government is set up the way it is. Like it's just hard to get shit done. Yeah, yeah. It just mitigates a lot of the risk. And so I think it's like I just know that other people are a lot better than me at shit. And like I was talking to Will Hinkson, who's the CEO of Sales Sniper, like at the retreat, and he was like, I was like, you're way better at me at certain things. I'm still better at you at certain things. I fucking hope to God you get better than me at those things. Mm-hmm. Because like why hire someone if you don't think they can be better than you at it?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So one of the things, did you ever face any resistance in the idea of, we preach putting out a lot of content, most of the sales and marketing that this company does is for coaches and consultants. Yeah. The key to them is that building that know, like, and trust, creating a ton of content. In reality, once you hit a certain tipping point, you just cannot continue to create the content yourself. Somebody else has to take over and put that out for you so that you can continue to actually service the clients that content has created. Yeah. Did you feel any resistance in regards to that? Like, I'm no longer going to be editing it. I'm no longer going to have the final say on what comes out. And how did you feel sort of when you hit that point? When you first, because you just have that editor in Andre, right? That was in. Yeah. So when you first were like, here's I filmed it. There's a bunch of different takes. Make the best one and post it on YouTube.
Yeah. I think I didn't have that for personal Facebook. I still have that. Mm-hmm. Like I don't let them do that. Yeah. Like they want to do copywriting on my personal Facebook, and I hate everything they do. Yeah. It's like, nah, I wouldn't say that. Yeah. And like I'm a good copywriter, so I can for myself. Like I'm not good,
of course. Yeah.
I mean? So I'm good at doing that. I know what my audience wants. I know what they want to see. I don't like when things get accidentally posted on my personal profile, because like I know that medium so well that I don't like things happening without my say-so or approval, because I know what the audience will react to, right? But I was really lucky with Andrej, because Andrej did two jobs. He did content curation and editing even though he was just an editor.
Okay.
So I really lucked out with a guy that could consume the content and then go, oh, this is the best way to put that together.
Mm-hmm.
That was pure dumb luck.
Okay.
He was a referral. He's like, hey, he's a great editor. Because I didn't realize, like, that's two different jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people mistakenly think you just hand stuff to an editor and they can just make brilliant shit out of it. Now, in a vlog, that's the editor's job, pretty much, right? Is to sort of make that look good. But when it comes to infotainment, which is essentially what we do, right? Information in a somewhat hopefully entertaining manner, or at least engaging manner, right?
We're trying.
We're trying our hardest. Like, that's really hard to put together because you have to understand the concepts that are kind of being espoused. So, like, just handing that to an editor is tough.
Yeah.
And we've been really lucky with Booge because,
Yeah.
He puts it all together and he can make interesting things and, put out quality reels, from this podcast and stuff. So I was very lucky to have a good initial experience, which probably left me to kind of hand things over a little bit easier. But also, like, I have probably to a fault too much of like a trusting nature where it has burned me a few times when I've gone, okay, I trust you, go do this. And then it hasn't been done to a good standard.
Is there an example of that you can talk about?
Usually it's with like contractors, you know what I mean? Like I've hired contractors and just kind of left them to their own devices. And it wasn't until 4 or 5, 6 months down the track that I kind of realized they're actually not doing anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, I kind of, one of the mistakes that we make here is like, we really put in a lot of effort for our clients. We really try and make things work. We go above and beyond. Like, we just did a big, I can't say the name of the company because we're under an NDA, but a really big reshape of the Asia Pacific sales process for a very large company in the finance space. And they were like, we've never worked with a contractor that has come close to you guys.
Right.
Like, the testimony they gave us was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because we go above and beyond, and like, they're messaging this guy, 11 p.m. on a Saturday, going, we're trying to work through this and this and this, and these guys like, what the fuck are these guys doing?
Yeah.
And they got a standing ovation at the end of their presentation. Right?
Okay.
And we're gonna try and roll that out to the whole world, of which we have a pretty good chance to.
Yeah.
So it's a good payday for us, but they're gonna get a good product.
Yeah.
But like, we just kind of expect other contractors and people who come work for us to do the same thing. And so, like, it's why I hate hiring anyone from corporate, and I've made that mistake as well, like hiring people from corporate backgrounds. They're just not a good fit. We've tried it a few times now. And
in what way?
like, so there's tremendous amount of, like, we have I think we're fairly systemized here, like fairly, probably more than I realized, to be perfectly honest. Like, there are systems and structures to kind of everything. Spencer does a phenomenal job of making that. But it's difficult to hide behind those systems and structures because, like, there's like a responsibility and an accountability chart. So it's like, this is your job description. This is what you're responsible for. This is what you're accountable for. And there's like ways that Spencer can hold people accountable to those things. Whereas like in corporate, like, people hide behind structure, and so, the sort of, like when we had that friend who went to customs.
Yeah.
Right? And like basically almost got fired for doing a good job.
Yeah.
And then did nothing. And they were like, yeah, high five, you're killing it, bro.
That's what we want.
So it's like a lot of the times in corporate, it's like, don't make waves.
Yeah.
Keep your head down. Just kind of do the minimum requirement. Don't make anyone look bad. It's like those businesses are making so much money, it almost doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, we were talking to a really large company about helping them out with marketing, and we still are. It'll be a very long sales cycle. But their branding budget was $27 million. And I was like, and what's the KPI they have attached to it? And they go, oh, no, they don't have one.
Yeah.
It's like $27 million and you don't have a fucking, like, not a single one.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Just spend it.
If they're doing anything.
Yeah, and like they could just be doing anything they want with that money, and like, but there's no expectation of a return, and like, that's just fucking crazy. But so imagine being in that role and then going to like a small to medium sized business where like you have to be like, like every employee has to get a 5x return. Yeah. It's like, and if you're not, what are you doing here?
And do you think like a good way to explain that maybe is like in those bigger corporate gigs, it's just don't do anything that could derail the train. Whereas like what we're trying to do here is speed the train right up. Yeah. And we accept that like sometimes it comes off the track. Like that's part of the that when you experiment with how
it's
you
part
do
of the fun,
things. Yeah. It's like when you go forwall driving, the whole point is to get bogged.
Yeah. Like, then you get to use your recovery stuff. That's exactly, the good shit.
Right.
Like at the retreat, it was interesting because I think like I don't like to give. It's a fine balance between like how do you give strong leadership, but like still letting people don't know like you're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah,
and I probably err too much on like the hey we're probably gonna fuck this up. But we're a group of highly motivated, intelligent individuals who will make the best of whatever fuck ups we do.
Yeah,
and so the analogy I always use is like we're building the plane while we're taking off, and it's like if you want to be here, you have to be okay with that. Realize that every now and then it's going to be a little bit bumpy.
Yeah.
But like it's more fun.
Yeah.
It's more challenging. And the people who are kind of into that, like they love it. They're like, yeah, sweet. Like we get to kind of be a part of something being built. Now how long that goes for, I don't know yet.
Yeah. So then in your hiring process, you're looking for people you can trust, but probably before anything else, do you think? But then also people who are adaptable and willing to experiment and stuff like that, rather than people who are like, if the box isn't ticked, I'll freak out.
Yeah, I think like perfectionism is really tough. I think for any dynamic environment, like I think it was a while ago we were talking about good enough. Good enough is good enough.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean like we try and do the highest quality standard that we can at all times, but like. Sometimes you just got to go, fuck it, like, let's give it a crack.
Yeah.
Like, this is as good as we can do with the information that we have. We might as well just get it out there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to spend 8 hours writing a script. Because, I just don't know how that's going to go. So it's like, I'll write a quick script, which I, based off previous experience and previous accounts and knowledge that I have, will be pretty good. Could it be better? Yeah. But, like, I'd rather just get it out there. Do the calls, listen to the calls, and then just refine it as we go, rather than, doing the whole you have a perfect plan, then all of a sudden you get punched in the face, and it's like, what was the point of all that time spent?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that comes from watching ridiculously complex plans be made for 3 days in the military, and then you get out there and you're like, well, that was fun. It's all FUBAR anyway.
Yeah. All right, so team building, let me sort of bring us back to that, because I'm curious about, I think some people have their team building being very intentional. They then, they decide like, I anticipate a gap, I'm going to build a team around that. And then others are like, I have a gap, I'm going to fill it. Where do you think you fall into that?
Probably the latter, I think. A bit more off the cuff. But I think what I've tried to do, which is intentional, is just collect the highest caliber of human. Like that's what I see one of my main roles here is like attracting high performing individuals. It's like if you have a really good team, it's hard to fail. You'll have your ups and downs, but I think, I look around at the team that we have and I'm like, man, everyone is like super smart, highly motivated. There's not many people that we have to like, especially on like a management level, like there's no one who won't just put in the work.
Yeah. I think something that I observe for sure is that everybody here is kind of bought in.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think there's no one in the management team that I can observe anyway. Not that I see everyone doing their jobs, but that I think is just sort of, this is my 9 to 5 and that's it. Like everybody is like, no, I'm part of this machine and I'm pushing it forward.
Yeah. That's very intentional though.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So like identifying that as a trait in someone, are you able to identify that and hire because of it? Or do you like when someone's in the system, that's how you progress them to management?
I think it's both.
Okay.
So like there's definitely people that we've just hired as sales guys and gone, you're the guy. We have to figure out a place for you. So we're like trying to figure out, like there's probably the three of those most obvious individuals, 4 most obvious individuals would be, or 5, sorry, Tony, Rode, Shane, Jeff, and Sean.
Okay.
Right? Highly capable, smart, dynamic, like will be pretty good in any role we give them. So it's like, we just were like, come on in management and we'll figure it out. Right? Now that was like probably to the detriment financially initial and probably fucked them around more than what I'd care to say, because like we didn't really have clear and defined roles for them, but they just got to work and they filled gaps and they did stuff. Like no one in Sales Sniper has been fucked around more than Tony had.
Okay. Elaborate.
No one. Right?
What happened?
And he just got a Sales Sniper tattoo at the retreat. I owe him $500 actually, because I said if you can close the deal while getting the tattoo, I'll give you $500. He did.
Which we have footage of.
Yeah,
stand by on.
Yeah. But like he was like maybe the third or fourth sales guy that I recruited.
Okay.
So like it was Will Odoms, right? Will should be on that list too, actually, but he's not in management because he's just like straight selling.
Okay.
Because he sells the shit out of stuff.
Yeah.
So
and he's happy there. He doesn't.
Well, we had that chat, so we moved him into management. To, you know what I mean? But then I had a chat with him later on. And I was like, I don't think like right now this is the right spot for you. Like, I think if you just concentrate on selling, like that's really where you're at. Because he had certain goals he wanted to hit. And I was like, all I'm doing is taking away your ability to sell.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? And like management will never, not necessarily capped, but if you just want to make money, sales is a spot for you.
Yeah.
And you can still be a leader in the community without being in management.
Mm-hmm.
Like Will is a leader in Sales Network, no question about it, but he's not in management technically, right? But like when I need something done, I can ask him and he can get it done, and he's a leader, right?
He's that dude in the team that like really should be a sergeant, but
yeah, he's
like,
just so good at what he does, just keep him shooting people.
Yeah.
You know you know what I mean? Like he's a killer.
Yeah.
So, but like Tony has been on like every account ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And he's kind of the guy that when we need someone for an account and it's short term, it's Tony, right? But like now he's like kind of like our, not HR, because we call him HR, but he's making sure everyone's happy.
Okay.
Right? And he's on accounts as well.
So why was he moving account to account?
He's just reliable.
Okay.
Right? I've trained him. He's a good sales guy. He's able to adapt quickly. He doesn't fucking complain. I know if I put him somewhere, he'll do what he's supposed to do. And he sees it as like helping the cause. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, sweet, I'll go over here, I'll do this. You know what I mean? And every now and then he gets fucked around because it's like, we'll move him, but we haven't got him on an account. And I just realized in the retreat, I was like, you on an account? He's like, no, not right now. I'm like, fuck. I was like, Jesus, mate, let me know, right? Yeah. But he still gets paid like a fee for doing what he does. But I was like, oh, Jesus, man. Okay, yeah, we'll fix that right up. So I fixed it that day.
Yeah. And then he stopped made a sale that day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So like the team building has been somewhat organic. Have you ever poached anyone?
Yeah, hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And why? Like, be as specific as you can, but like, who have you identified, or what was the trait? What was the the hole that you were trying to plug?
Yeah.
And how did you sweeten the deal? Like, why did they come to us, leaving someone else?
I'm in a uniquely advantageous position of where 7th level is like a tremendously, it's just a great machine, right? Because it's the best sales methodology there is. So the best sales guys kind of gravitate to it because they figure it out. So like, I mean, I poach 2 people a month, 2 to 3 a month, I would say.
Yeah.
Because that, like, I do coaching in 7th level in the Inner Circle program. And so I get to quickly identify talent because like some people can hear a sales guy and go, oh yeah, he's good. Right? Or no, he's not good. Some people can hear a sales guy and go, he can be good.
Okay.
Right? So there's not many people that have the second characteristic. I can hear someone and go, you have potential to be good. I can also hear someone and say, you got no chance, you might as well just quit.
Really?
Yeah. I generally don't say that to people. I have said it.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people invest so much time and energy and money into sales training where I've stopped them from doing like another investment and gone, you don't have it. Like you'd be better copywriter, or you'd be better this. Like you should.
Have you said that to anyone and then they have turned out to have it?
Not yet.
I had a guy at the unit when I was they're like your sub 2 corporal is the same as the AITs. Guy said to me, he's like, hey Pat, it was hammering rain. It was this horrible day.
Yeah.
It was just putrid life conditions. It was sitting in this stupid pit together, and he goes, selection's coming up. He goes, are you going to be an instructor on the selection? I was like, yep, I am. And he's like, do you think I'm going to make it? And I was like, no. He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, dude, I just don't think you are. I just don't think you're going to make it. And he's like, why? And I was like, I don't know. Like, just
a feeling.
It's just, you got all the things, but I just don't think it's going to pan out. He didn't.
And I made goddamn sure of it.
But I'm pretty sure, like, that was the hatred and the fuel that he needed, because he came back 2 years later and killed it. It's one of the, like, best shooters in the unit.
Yeah,
but
right.
when he came back, he's a different person. Like a
Yeah.
different person came back, and that dude obviously
Sometimes you
can
gotta fail.
make it. So I'm curious if you've ever like,
I think
if anyone's ever written your name on the wall in lipstick,
Oh, I'm sure.
and just been like, I'm gonna be successful because fuck you, I am.
I hope so.
Yeah,
That'd be great. And I think there's definitely like it's just like if your decision making process after say 12 months of like really high quality coaching makes no sense to me, I'm like, man, maybe this isn't for you. Like if it's taking you that long, like don't get me wrong, you can still you could figure it out, but I'm like, how much more time, effort, and energy do you want to put into this when from what I see you're a beginner,
Right.
like you're a straight beginner. After a year or 2 years or 3 years, it's like maybe this just isn't for you, and maybe you can take the skills that you've learned and apply them to a different vocation or even a different industry, because like I let someone go. I think we talked about this. I let someone go because they just didn't have it, in my opinion, and they crushed it in a different sales in a different industry.
Right.
You know, so like maybe you just need to like get out of coaching and consulting and into an easier industry to sell, like go sell recruitment or go sell something that's simpler, go sell SaaS. Like SaaS is a crazy one because you'll get $150K a year base,
Right.
you know? So like, or even a $200K a year base.
Yeah, because your sale is just going to be like one a year or something like that, right?
Well, it's not even, sometimes you're doing a ton of sales, but the value of each individual sale is so low.
Right. Oh, okay.
You know, like if you're a Slack sales guy,
Yeah, okay.
how much comms are you going to make? You know?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Or if you're like a Stripe, you know, or something like that, like sometimes it's just really small comms, you know, pay merchant processing. Like you can get a few whales. Like one of the guys just signed up 7th level. Like he's going to make a fucking ton of money.
Yeah, right.
He'll make 30 grand, or no, I'll probably make that. He'll probably make, you know, 5,000 to 7,000 a month recurring commission.
Oof.
Right? Just from our one account.
Yeah.
You know, we'll be there for years.
Yeah.
So and I know that guy. He makes a shitload of money because he's got a bunch of us. You know, so and the cool thing about that is he's super redundant. But anyway, that's getting into the weeds of sales. But yeah, so like I think when you find the right people and you surround yourself with the right people, but buying people into the cause, and what I see, I think people fuck up a lot is like they're just so greedy, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm the opposite of greedy.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I like money as much as the next guy, but I just like, I don't see the point in trying to like hoard it all. Like I foregoed my dividend for the year and I gave that as bonuses. I was like, I don't need any more money. But I was like, imagine how happy all these people would be if they had more money. And then so I gave a shitload of $5,000 bonuses.
Cool.
And so I was like, and then I got all these messages going like, what's this for? And I was like, well done, dude. They're like, fuck, man, thanks. Like, and they're, you know, and so like for me, having an extra X amount in my bank account, like to be honest, like it makes no difference. Like I don't check my bank that much. I give it all to my wealth management guy. Like it's just there.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes no difference. But, you know, and then the same with equity. Like equity is, you know, people are like, hold on tight. It's like, yeah, but like I don't want to do this forever, you know? And if I want to be able to step away for a year, because I think there will come a time where I will step away for 6 months and do fucking nothing. Like we'll shoot a shitload of content. None of you fuckers will ever know I left. Right? Right? But I might just go, hey, let's take the kids out of school for 6 months and spend 6 months as a family in fucking Costa Rica or whatever, right? And I would like to be able to do that at some stage, whenever it fucking is. But then have a bunch of people who are as motivated, if not more motivated than me, to see that as a challenge to grow the business while I'm away.
Okay, so explain that a bit more, because I think we make a lot of assumptions. You know, talk to us, please, in the comments. If you're listening, you know, just audio, jump onto the YouTube, find the YouTube video, let us know in the comments, because I think we make assumptions about the audience is that they're all Salesforce people, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I think that you explain a lot of things. You just kind of gloss over a lot of things, right? That I think could be explained. So equity and giving it in the company, like to what extent do you give that away, and what does that look like in reality?
Probably overly aggressively.
Okay.
So we have a employee share option program. So very expensive, time consuming to set up because there are like regulatory things that you have to have. But essentially, people have options in our company, right? So, so like they're basically given a chunk of it, right? Now that has what's called a vesting period, which is like, you have to work here for 36 months. Once you're here for 36 months, you own that piece of the company, right? And that can be however much we dictate, right? So we have key stakeholders, and then we have, who have equities, which the main is me, Marco, and James. Like, we have the largest equity stake. And then from there, we have like some other shareholders, and then from there we have our ESOP, right? And so like I own like 35% of the company. You know what I mean? I could own 100, but I mean, like how invested are the people going to be?
Yeah,
so they're just going to get another offer.
Yeah,
no matter how cool I am.
So the whole reason you do that is to give people skin in the game, and so that they're here beyond. I get paid to be here, but beyond they have a piece of it. A piece of this is theirs.
Yeah,
and they're as invested in its success beyond their paycheck. There's more beyond that.
Yeah. So the way the archaic way of describing it is called golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Right. So like, let's say I give someone 2% of the company, whatever. Right. Now they might get, it'd be in shares. Let's just call it like 100,000 shares. Right. So they would have a 3-year vesting period, and I might say, hey, you've done really well. I'm going to give you 25% of your shares with an immediate vest, like a 48-hour vest. So it's like, sweet, in 48 hours from the time that we enact that, you own 25% of those shares. They're yours. They're good to go. You could technically transact them, but that is now on your wealth ticket, right?
Yeah.
Because it's valued at whatever it is per share. So you got that for free. You know what I mean? And there's ways that we have to structure that so it doesn't fuck people's taxes.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that's kind of the issue, like for people listening, they may not realize that if you gave me half of this company right now,
you would get an enormous tax bill.
You would bankrupt me in doing so.
Yes. Yeah. Big time. But there are ways in which you can structure that to where that doesn't happen, right? And employee share option programs are designed to be like that. So it's not just giving you chunks of equity. It does not how it works, right? So, and then I could go, okay, you get another 50%, 24 months after that. And then you get the remaining 25% 12 months after that. So it's 3 years. You could do 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And everyone can be different. Like, it's the beautiful thing. There's very little rules with an ESOP as long as you have it structured correctly. So, but in doing that, it's like, let's say I have a rock star like a Will Hinkson, right? I pay him very good money, but he might get another offer. But then he's like, oh man, but I'm 12 months away from getting my shares vested. It's like, fuck. So I'm giving up on all of this to take more income. So I'm giving up on wealth to take more income. And then what you can do is you can come to me and go, I've been made this offer, and then we can match it, or we can not, or we can have a bump or whatever, or even provide more shares. Go, if you knock that back and don't take a higher thing, I'll give you another 50,000 shares. And it's like, oh, fuck, all right, cool. With a 12-month vest at the end of that, So it gives you kind of like options in order to keep really good people. Also, like, those are dividend-paying shares. So it means that, like, at the end of every financial year, we have all the profit. So everyone's incentivized to not only grow the revenue, but grow the profit because they get their share in the profit. And then if we ever IPO or exit or whatever, then they would participate in that as well. And so it's like, we're all kind of like, and my job is kind of like the rah-rah sis boom bah dude, is to buy in everyone on the ultimate vision, which is like the value of their shares. And it's like the decisions that we're making are designed to increase the value of the company of which you have a stake in. So it's like, when I give you your initial shares, they're worth 10 cents a share. In 5 years, I want them to be worth 72 cents a share. Hence, you have 7.2 times the amount of wealth just by staying in the company, And so it kind of like, it kind of bonds everyone together.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's one of the things that sort of makes others feel a little bit more interested in the accountability of their peers, right?
Yeah.
Because like, hey, if you don't perform, it's not just you that is affected. I am affected by your underperformance.
Yeah.
Therefore, like, I will invest in you. I'll help you rather than just watch you fuck it up or like hope that you get fired, because you probably, it's very unlikely that you will. So we need to work cohesively to push the machine forward.
And the way that we did it is somewhat interesting. I don't even know how much detail I can go in, but fuck it, whatever. Because we have like a top co with like subsidiary units. And like, like Sniper Media is a separate business, the Sales Sniper. I didn't do it per business unit. I just did it for the top co. So that means that like everyone has to work together. And it's like, yeah, if you need to do a little bit of extra work to help out these dudes over here, it's like, well, fucking suck it up, champ, because like it's all going up there anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so
It's all headed to the same funnel.
Yeah, we're in for a penny, we're in for a pound.
Yeah.
And so I think that like that's one thing that I see, I think particularly in the industry that we're in is like probably not being done, where that's something that like I think corporate larger businesses have done a lot better.
Okay.
Is like they might have like fun. I was told once like, oh, we have a great culture, I said, and the guy goes, no, you don't have a great culture. He goes, you just have a bunch of people that enjoy each other's company. And I was like, oh, that's a really good point. It's very interesting. And so it's
What's
like
the difference?
a culture is people unified under like a singular vision.
Okay.
You know, and that doesn't and good cultures can have conflict.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you have a good relationship with someone, you can have disagreeing ideas because like you're passionate about like the end state.
Yeah.
Whereas like everyone just getting along, it doesn't really mean much.
Okay.
You know, so I think that, yes, we have a culture where everybody gets along, but I think, like, especially the head shit, and the hard part is disseminating that down.
So,
is everyone's unified.
Before you carry on, what did you do with that information? When you got told that you don't have a great culture, you've got a bunch of people that get along.
Yeah.
What did you change when you, that's where the ESOP came from?
No. We created the scope principles.
Okay.
Right? Strategic, you know, all that kind of stuff.
So you set out those values,
yeah,
and said, hey, do you guys agree with this? Okay,
yeah.
Good, you get to stay.
Yeah, and then we kind of simplified it to lead, aim, fire.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, and then we started, like, I guess, sort of trying to espouse to the lowest levels that, like, nobody is beyond the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so if we're going to have, say, in Sales Sniper, one of the big catch cries is teammate, self, which is introduced by Will Hinkson, which is like a MARSOC thing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, if you look after your team and then you look after your teammate and then you look after yourself, you never have to look after yourself because everybody else is doing that.
Yeah.
You should be good to go at all times. Like when you're jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
You don't want to be checking your own shit.
Yeah.
You be checking everybody else around you, then they check you, then you check you, and there shouldn't be any fucking mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, we try and espouse that, and so that means that everybody is accountable to that. So if anyone fucks that up, like, the newest guy should be able to hold Will Hinkson accountable and go, hey, man, that doesn't feel like it's in line with what we're doing here, and he should be able to go, oh, yeah, you're fucking right, right? You know, so it sort of transcends rank, I think. And that's one thing that, like, James has done particularly well is, like, reiterating that at all points.
Yeah.
And so, and the hiring process has to reflect that.
Yeah. So we've talked quite a lot about sort of the team building, but the training. So, you know, we have a big team. They're all really good. They wouldn't be here if they weren't really good. And yet there's still a lot of training that happens. What's the idea behind that?
Well, is training something you do or is training something you did?
There you go.
Well, I mean, like, well, you can probably talk about this more than me. Like, you were, you know, training people up in the military. I was just the dude who got told what to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go and fucking go shoot that target. All right, cool. I'll go shoot that target. So, like, you know, most of what I got comes from, like, you know, in snipers, I just fucking shot every day. What else was I going to do? I only had one job. Fucking shoot. All right, cool. I'll just do that all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, when you were running platoons, like, what was your methodology behind that?
Well, I think the thing with training is the ethos I've always had is that there's no such thing as maintenance, right? You're either going forwards or going backwards. And if you think that you're maintaining, then you're actually going backwards, because there are, like, in your day-to-day, you're never doing everything that will be required of you. And so training for me has always looked like the things that are outside of my day-to-day, because I'm probably awesome at my day-to-day. I'm doing it every day and I get to test and adjust right there and then. I don't need to train what I do. What I do need to do in training is remember the entire scope of where I'm employed and then say, like, oh, I haven't done that in ages. You know, like, I haven't ticked that box in a long time. I need to go out and make sure that, given the opportunity to do that live, I'm still capable, and I'll do it in a controlled environment where you know, I'm not like, if I fuck it, it's no big deal. In fact, I want to make mistakes. I want to push the limit of, push the limit of completion. Go, that wasn't good. Go back, find the mistake, test and adjust, redo it. And I think that's the trick in training in any instance,
That's a really good point, putting it that way.
Yeah, not training what you do, because you're doing what you do.
Yeah. Like we do run this retreat, and I was like, who here role plays every day? And I was like, waste of fucking time. Right? It's like, I said, okay, raise your hand if you role play every day. And I was like, raise your hand if you have leads to call. I was like, why are you role playing?
Yeah.
Just call the fucking leads.
Yeah.
Like, role play live.
Yeah.
You know, with people. Like, that's your job. You should role play things that you suck at individually.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, oh man, I suck at thinking about objections. Like, maybe go and watch the video that's over here. Or, like, role play that specifically.
Yeah.
Do a really targeted approach to your development, and then you'll actually get better.
Yeah.
But like, if you just, it's really funny. Like in Inner Circle, we have a Facebook group for the Inner Circle clients at 7th level, and like every third day, hey, I'm new to NEPQ. Any other newbies that want to role play? And I just write, stop. I go, blind leading the blind. Just show up to the sessions.
Yeah.
Don't fucking do it.
Have other people started taking that over for you? Does it get like in the group? Yeah. It becomes the running joke of the culture.
Yeah. You know.
So the retreat, what was involved? What did you do there? What happened?
Just spit out fire like Dylon. No, it was good. It came at a really good time because I think like
I think you used that reference enough.
No.
We need to put the video of like
5 greatest rappers of all time.
Yeah.
Dylon.
We need to give that some context. So the video will be here. If you're listening audio, too bad. Get onto the YouTube.
Get on. Just look it up. Dylon, greatest rapper of all time.
Yeah.
So it came at a really good time because there was like a cultural shifting that we could feel within Sales Sniper itself. And it was the fact that like there is a clear and very deliberate and like obvious transition into focusing heavily on outbound.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like sales guys and everyone just sees that as a fuck around, but it's like, it's what we see as the shift that's happening in the market because it's getting harder to book calls.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? Just across the board. It's getting more expensive. And so like this is a way that we can like mitigate that to some degree. Right? And so like really, really pushing outbound activity. Some people just didn't fucking like it. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, you can go fucking kick rocks then. I don't care. Right? This is what's going to have to be done to be successful in sales for the next few years, I feel.
Okay.
And so...
And you think that's recession driven?
I think it's platform driven. I think like the platforms are getting more competitive. They're getting harder to do things in. It's almost like... It's just very strange. It's like marketers figuring something out and then the platforms trying to close that.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't really make sense. It's like they're just trying to make everything as difficult as possible all the time. I don't really know why they're doing that.
That's a great question, mate. I've been sort of genuinely curious about that myself, about whether they're doing things in order to defeat marketing. Because, you know, one of the things they hate is you being really successful with your ads, right? Like they want you to have to work hard, and they don't, and especially what they don't like is organic traffic, right? And Instagram actually, like the dude, as Missouri or whatever his name is that runs Instagram, he actually, reading between the lines in one of the things that he said, he talked one time about how much money is made on Instagram. And then he mentions like, but only half of that is actually made through Instagram. They hate influencers. They hate the idea that you're wearing a product and then someone can buy that product because they saw it on Instagram without buying it through Instagram. Like they hate that. And so I'm curious about all the weird stuff that they do, and it always seems like you just figure out a strategy and then they change something. And I wonder sometimes like whether that is on purpose because they've got people that are like, hey, we see the trend, we see how people are interacting with the platform and how they're being effective in their lead generation. We need to change something to avoid that so that they have to go back to using our ads and paying a lot for it, right? Versus it just happens to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they change something somewhere else and the downstream effect is that it changes the way that leads can be generated through the platform. I don't know. And fucked if I can figure it out because I spend all day staring at it.
But it's like when, Declan and Emily, right? So Emily Skye, big fitness person, they figured out how to make a buckload of money without paying Facebook a dime. And do you remember they flew them over? And we're like, oh my God, congratulations. And they I think they just tricked them, to be honest. And they were like, come into Facebook headquarters and meet fucking Mark Zuckerberg. And like, we're going to try and, Like, you guys are the shiny example of how Facebook can be used. Hey, tell us how you did that. Loophole closed.
Yeah.
Like, no more organic traffic to your Facebook pages.
Yeah.
Like that. She literally broke it.
Yeah.
Like, so when they went there and they explained their strategy,
Yeah.
I hope he got paid to explain it, because it literally, like, it shifted how Facebook worked as a platform, because she made millions and millions of dollars with paying $0 to Facebook.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't want that to happen again.
Yeah.
So like it's very clear what their strategy is. They're trying to, jack advertising prices up, but it's like they can't jack them up so high that it becomes unattainable for the average person.
Yeah. Mate, like Facebook and Instagram is interesting platforms in that there's nothing in it for the creator, financially. So there's of course people have to monetize in some other way. They have to, right?
Yeah.
So like if you've developed an audience, which takes you a ton of time, in the dog space, there's plenty of people who have a reactive dog. Most of them make their dog reactive, right? But like they work in marketing, so they put in a ton of time to, give their journey or whatever through Instagram. They get to, 50,000, 100,000, some of them 250,000 followers, right? And then it's like, okay, I've got this giant audience. How do I turn that into money? And they always end up sort of, affiliate links to dog beds or treat pouches or something like that, right? Yeah. But so Instagram doesn't get any of that money, like it's them just pushing the product. But if they were creating quality content along the way, and then Instagram was like, hey, because of your contribution to the platform, we've made X amount of dollars, here's some of those dollars, then people wouldn't need to push those products away, which is what YouTube does, right? So like YouTube, no worries, advertise if you want, but we'll also pay you. So you have to now decide, well, there's going to be ads on my show. If I put in ads, how's that going to affect? Now people are doubling down on the ads, so it really has to be worth a while. And YouTube actually pay creators, and it's not necessarily a lot of money depending on your views and whatever, but it's 50% of what they get. In some instances, it's actually more. They pay the creators more than what they make from the ad revenue on it. And that's what is missing from like Instagram and Facebook. They don't pay creators. So they're not incentivized to make good content to keep people on the platform.
Yeah.
So they're stuck in this
sort of an us versus them.
Yeah.
Whereas at YouTube, it's kind of like we're a team.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the influencers are then stuck in this loop of like having to pay to get their shit seen.
Yeah. And you can make good money on YouTube. Like, I mean, our little channel makes like what, $600 a month or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
if that was scaled massively, like it would be a ridiculous.
The thing is, we could
waste of
stop
time.
making videos. It would still be $600 a month.
Yeah. Just ticking over.
It just ticks over.
Yeah.
So like you look at Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat was making millions of dollars a month, and then just stopped posting and continued to make the money.
Continues to let it trickle in.
It just comes in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting. But kind of going back to the retreat, like the point of the retreat. So there was kind of a cultural shift going on, and so we could feel it, and it was, you know what I mean. So we're like, okay, we need to bring everyone together in the same spot, and then like reunite people under like a purpose.
What do you mean by cultural shift?
Like we were sort of really focusing on other things. You know what I mean? It was like there was a transition of me out as CEO, which although it means nothing to them, it does.
Yeah.
And then there was this like, oh, what is this scope? And then somebody said something about IPOing, which freaked everybody the fuck out, even though it was like, we're not IPOing. Like, what are you talking about? It takes years to even set that up, right? Yeah. And then like there was a confusion between what is 7th level and what is Sales Sniper and all this kind of stuff. And so there was just confusion. And I think like everyone sees this, like the feedback that I get is like this, we are like a catchment for like troubled youth.
Okay.
Like we really are.
Just like the military.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's because like my personality, like the people who are drawn, you can just look at the fucking analytics, are like 22-year-old men. Mm-hmm. I've got the same demographic as Jordan Peterson.
You and Uncle Jordy P are the
right?
same.
You know? And so like when they kind of get into here, like they have me as like kind of the male figure that kind of is like, it's okay, we'll be fine, let's unite under a purpose. But then when there's like, when those waters start to muddy, the natural proclivity of that personality type is to freak the fuck out, And so, and then we had like this, I've fully fucked up because we had two big accounts give us notice. One of them ended up staying, one of them left, but it was all fine, but it was a really big account. And so I freaked the fuck out, like, and then signed up 7 shit accounts. Right? And so what like
I gotta plug that hole.
Yeah, but I signed him up in like 4 days. I just went fucking ham.
Yeah.
And so what that meant is that people were onboarded, fucked around, offboarded, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that created, I guess, probably like, does management really know what the fuck they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know? Which is fair because people were getting stuffed around, and I get all that. It was all kind of for a purpose. Like, you know, we're trying to figure shit out too. And so I think like all that combined left us in a situation where we were like maybe not as strong kind of culturally and like as a team as what we could have been, because everyone was being pulled in different directions, and there was scope was becoming a thing, and Sniper Media was becoming a thing, and it's like I'm stepping down to CEO and Will's coming in. It's like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of shift. So I think that was probably poorly timed by me and like the senior leadership team in terms of everything happening at once. So we just needed to come together and sort of reunite under a single banner and purpose, and then kind of reignite and get a chance to, you know, shake hands and kiss babies.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really the purpose behind it. So I gave some speeches about like, you know, where Sales Sniper came from, what I had to do to make it what it is, the things that I'd done prior. Like, and I wrote down a list of questions on the plane that I thought people would want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I would just answer these questions because people won't ask them.
Yeah.
Because they just won't. But I'll answer them anyway. And so I went through all that, and I think I gave like for example, one of the questions like, what is my job?
With your job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people don't know what my job is.
Yeah.
You know, they just think I'm the guy that rocks up, goes on camera, and drives a fancy car.
Yeah.
You know, which has got a fucking. And they're not half wrong. Yeah. But you know, like, why did I make Will CEO? I made Will CEO because he is better at everything that I suck at.
Okay.
Like, I don't need people who are like better than me at the things that I'm good at, because like the things that I'm good at are niche, but I'm really good at them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I can continue to provide that function, you know. But the things that I'm bad at, like that's what I need them for. So, and I'm not good at the CEO stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I am, but I'm not.
So you're like, I think sort of the way I think about it is in regard to sort of acquisition, you're the tip of the spear in that you're really good at getting it going, setting it all up, but like
keeping it going.
Yeah, and I think that's not that you're not good at that. You're just not interested in it. Therefore, you're not good at it.
Build it up, burn it down.
Yeah.
You know? So like instead of like, and that's an entrepreneurial trait. Entrepreneurs will find ways to burn their business to the ground so they can rebuild it.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw that. And I was like, I really don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And so that's what like James is for. Mm-hmm. And that's what Will's for. And all those kind of people. Like, and me and Marco are just like, Marco's a unique beast because he could start, run, and maintain. Like he could kind of do
the whole lot.
He could do the whole lot. But, you know, if I didn't have kids, I might do the same. You know, but time.
And you were 27.
Yeah. And I could be fucked. But I'd rather make less money.
Yeah.
Like I've said that before, I'd just rather make less money, you know? And that's really hard, especially for like some of the more corporate people that we've brought in recently. I'm like, oh, just make less money. Like, what? Like, just make less, man. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, you know, I make $1 million a year instead of $2 million. Oh no. Yeah. Will you be okay?
Yeah,
like, you know, like who gives a fuck? And as well, I think like having a fun work environment is really important. Like I enjoy going to work. Mm-hmm. I hope everybody else does. Yeah. It's the reason we provide food. You know, it's like, come here and fucking enjoy yourself. Like we don't require anything, but you do the best you can and like aim to do better all the time. And I think like that's what's missing from a lot of things. But I also think that that's the youth of the industry which we're in that's reflected upon that. Yeah, because like they want to be thought of as the guy, and like I know that like I need to be thought of as the guy, but I'm also like I'll tell the truth, like I'm not like that guy. Yeah, like I'm the guy on camera doing all these things, but like, and I'm good at convincing people to do things, but these are the guys you want running the show. Yeah, you know, but I'll have the idea. I think to go full circle and sort of bring us back to our start point, so we can wrap it up. I think something that's really interesting that I observe here. When people come on, there's a lot of fear around making mistakes. There's a lot of concern, you know, like I have to prove myself, you know, I'm expecting to be micromanaged.
because that's what their expectation is from elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then when they come into here and all the leadership team is like, here's a rough outline of your job. Go ahead and sort of finish filling it out. And people are like, but what if I make mistakes? It's like, it's certain that you will.
Yeah. with what we've given you, I'd be shocked if you didn't.
Yeah. And if you make the same mistake twice, that would be concerning. Yeah. But like for sure make mistakes.
Well, what's the conversation? Like I know we hired a new content curator, so Mary.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And Booge came from a bank. Mm-hmm. That dude was fucking terrified to make a coffee the wrong way when he first came in.
Yeah.
Now he barely rocks up.
Yeah. In his defense,
does a fucking great job. Bro.
This is a hard place to edit. Like one of the things with editing video, and I'm sure that it's in many. It's relevant to the audience because I'm sure it's in many things, but it's narrative. So if you get interrupted, you don't get to start where you were. Right? Like you can't be like, if you're adding up numbers, you can stop adding up and you can have a conversation and then you can go back to where you were. With narrative, anything, even if it's just making reels, you're like, every interruption costs you like 5 to 10 minutes. You got to go back, reestablish a story in your own head so that you can carry it on. So that's why it's so much more efficient to be in an interruption-free environment like home.
Yeah.
Mary's doing great. She's watching this, no doubt. But it's a case of like, you figure it out. Like it's your job. Like make it your own. Here's the outline of what we want. We want someone that can upload, analyze, do all the stuff, and test and adjust. Like see what happens. Yeah. See like if something doesn't come out at the right time, it's like, well, as long as that's not happening consistently, who cares, right? Yeah. Like you figured out. Oh, that's the mistake. That's a gap that I can plug.
Yeah.
I think there's a book called The Talent Code, and in the stuff I teach, it's basically the Bible, but the part on perfect practice or like what they call deep practice is about, making mistakes and paying attention to those and going back, fixing it, and then re-establishing where you were rather than just glossing over mistakes.
Yeah.
And you see, that's how people never get any better at anything is when you make a mistake and you're like, oh, well, I made a mistake, carry on. It's like, no, like go back and address it, not in a like really critical, like you made a mistake, you're in trouble. But let's figure out how that mistake got made because we're happy to have made it. Now we know how to fix that gap and we carry on.
I find that most of the large leaps that we've made or I've made in my own development as a business owner is like through fuck-ups.
Yeah.
Because you screw something up and you're like, oh, man, like, I don't know how to do that. And like when you do something well, it's unlikely that you analyze it. Mm-hmm. But when you do something badly and it's like it's in your face, you kind of go, why did that happen?
Yeah.
And then you get an opportunity. And it sounds so fucking cliche and stupid, but whenever there's a big fuck up, I always go, all right, cool. This is probably going to be a good thing in 3 months. Mm-hmm. Because we haven't had one yet that hasn't been a good thing in 3 months because we get to go, all right. And this is like me and Marco work best in this scenario. There's a big fuck up or there's something like, let's say, like for example, recently, the first time we've ever done comprehensive budgets.
Okay.
Right. And so it's the first time that also people have been given a budget where it's like, hey, you have $120,000 to spend on this over the next 12 months. And like, we didn't say it had to be over the year. And so we were in a situation where $300,000 was on our credit card in a week. We're like, what happened? They're like, everyone spent their budget. We're like, that makes sense. Like that. So me and Marco, Tori in our financial meeting, she comes up to me and she goes, everything's fine, but we have this giant credit card bill. It's going to affect cash flow for a couple of weeks. I was like, if I make $100,000 this week, will it make it better? She's like, yes. And I was like, okay. So I called Marco and I was like, we need to make $100,000 cash this week. And he's like, okay. And then we both went our own separate ways, came together and made it. Mm-hmm. I think we made like 150. And so it's like, sweet. And, and we learned a lesson of like, don't like be more specific with how you should spend the money or like, don't just automatically approve because it's in budget.
Yeah.
Because we didn't plan on everyone spending it all at once.
Yeah.
And then like from that, we gain the ability to kind of like, we sort of reestablish our dynamic ability to make cash.
Yeah.
Because like I put me and Marco up against anybody on the planet. Put me and him in a room and say, you need $1 million. Be like, what's the time frame? Be like, sweet, we'll figure that out. Me and him can figure that out. Mm-hmm. And like there's
but that you two love that shit. Like,
it's
not
fun.
Only was that you like as you sort of alluded to, like you really, that $150,000 was very unnecessary. Like it was great to have, and certainly not saying no, but you enjoyed the process of making that way more than like, oh, it turns out we got it. But I had a goddamn good time.
I really enjoy having to miracle money.
Yeah.
But I've liked that for a long time, and I've always been able to do it. It's always been a little superpower of mine. Where it's like figuring out ways to make short-term cash. Yeah, we're really good at that. I like it. It's a whole, it's interesting equation to solve. And then you have to have a look at everything at your disposal. And then how do you do it without fucking yourself? Yeah. Because like anyone, like I could go out and sell $500,000 worth of coaching. Yeah. But
you still have to deliver that.
Have to deliver it.
Yeah.
So how do you write things that are low deliverable, high value?
Yeah.
And then you've got to kind of get real creative and outside the box and start looking at things in different ways. And, you know, I think it's a really interesting thing. I think everyone should do it. Like every business owner should be like, you know, one of the thought experiments that I learned from a really talented CRO of a very large company. He was like, every quarter he sits down his marketing team and his sales team and says, you need to send me a plan of what you'd do if you had zero marketing budget for the next 6 months.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really interesting way to play it. And so I made all the sales guys do it. Like, write your plan. There's no leads for 3 months. What do you do? Because you got to make money, you know? And so it forces you to kind of think outside the box. And that's where I think usually most of the best ideas come from. Like I came back from just having face-to-face with everybody in Dallas. Like I came back with like a lot of really, really solid ways of tweaking our business model to be far more effective. And it's just because like you're able to input information from all different people and people like on the ground doing the thing. You kind of get a little bit of different insight after a few conversations, and you can go, I can see what needs to change here to make this more optimal. And that's the fun of, I guess, getting to do that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Okay, that's the place to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
That's it for another episode of Coffee is for Closers. Remember, hit us in the comments. Let us know what more you want to hear. If you're still watching here, you're one of the OGs. You're in the clique.
You're in it.
You're in the clique. So give us a comment.
You have my respect.
Let us know.
And that's all you should need.
Let us know what you want to hear going forward. Check out a bunch of the other videos. There should be plenty of links along the way, and we'll see you next time.
Boom.
Bye.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.